Hey guys, in this video we're going to do another code review. The project is about a small but fairly well structured blog API. So I would say this developer is more of a midweight than a complete junior. So I'm going to show you three things that I would personally do different in this project. Hey guys, I'm Dan and this is PixelFix. And I'm here to hopefully help you improve your code a little by pointing out some common mistakes developers tend to make. If you like these kinds of videos, please hit that subscribe button and click on the notifications icon so you don't miss out when I upload more of these. And if you like this video or if you find it useful, please remember to hit the like button as well. Okay, so let's jump straight in and look at the routes file. Now, if you look at the routes file, you can see that there's some attempt made to segregate the different sections, which is not bad. But I would just say in this case, it'll take an extra line. So just put in a comment to say this is the auth section. Or we're looking at, say, categories. And over here, let's say we're looking at tags. And let's segregate this by putting in posts. I know this doesn't improve on any of the functionality, but it makes your readability of your routes file somewhat better. Okay, so something else I can see in this routes file is an active post, which sounds to me like an explicit route model binding. So if we go to our route service provider and scroll down to the boot method, yep, there we go. It's an explicit route model binding, which basically returns the post. It checks where the slug is the value and where it is active. Okay, so it basically just returns an active post. Okay, so keeping that in mind, let's quickly have a look through the post controller and see what we've got. All right, so we've got the index method. Then we've got a featured method which returns the posts where active. Okay, let's have a look again. Okay, there's another one, this latest where active, and another repetition where active in the gallery. Okay, let's have a look, see if we can find another place where it's active. Okay, three places where I've seen this where active is now being replicated. Four places. So it's in the route model binding and in three of the methods. Okay, so now a way around this code duplication is to add a global scope within the model. So if we go to our post model, what we can do is right at the bottom, we can add a global scope. Now, this is just code I copied straight from the Laravel website, as I personally feel it's not something I'm going to learn off by heart. Now, let's look at the method. As you can see, this is the override method for the model booted. Then what we do is we add a static global scope, and then this is the name we're going to give it. So we can use the same name as previously used. Let's call it active post. And then in our query builder, we can basically replicate what the active post was. And it was active equals, and then let's just remove this, and we can say it is true. Okay, now back in our post controller, we can basically remove these where clauses in the featured, latest, and gallery, because your global scope will always be used first, meaning that it will always return active posts. Okay, so the next thing we can do is in our route service provider is remove the explicit route model binding for active post, and then wherever it is referenced in the routes file, we can just replace it with the default route model bind of post. Okay, now back in our post model, we can clean up this method a little bit better by specifying a specific scope class. So in our app, let's create a folder called scopes. And then in scopes, we create a new file called active post scope.php. And we'll copy in some code straight from the Laravel website. And let's just rename this to our class, because the class name and the file name should be the same. So it's active post scope. And then basically what we can do is replace the query builder with whatever we had in our model file. Okay, so back in our model file, we can basically replace this whole section with new active post scope. And there we go. This should work exactly the same as before. We've just moved the query builder into a specific scope class. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is back in the API routes file. If we look at the update method on the post, you can see it's using a batch method. Now, back in the post controller under the update method, you'll see that 1, 2, 3, 4 of the fields are required and only 3 of them are nullable or not required, which makes this method more of a put method than a patch because it requires majority of the fields. Okay, so the next thing we can do is basically move this validation into a specific validation class. So let's create one called PHP artisan make request, and let's call it store post request. Okay, then in our requests, basically we've removed the rules, and now we're going to place the rules in the rules method. And we can change this to true because we're not doing any authorization in this request. Okay, so let's look at the rules. Now, in order for this to be a proper batch method, none of the fields should be required. So we can use the sometimes keyword on all of them. Sometimes and sometimes. Oops. And sometimes on the image. Okay, so let's clean up the rest of the rules and make sure everything is working properly. And post can now be accessed via this post. Okay, now back in our post controller, we can ask Laravel to inject the store post request class instead of the default request. I've actually seen we've named it wrong, so let's just go ahead and rename it properly. It shouldn't be store post request, it should be update post request. So let's first change our name to update post request, and then in our class itself, update post request, and then back in the controller we call it update post request, and in our import we just need to update it as well to update post request. Okay, so let's finish up our update method. So we don't need the validator anymore, so we can remove these lines. Okay, so this is where we're going to change our update process to be a little bit more patching rather than putting. And we can do this by creating special methods on the model in order to set the attributes. We'll also set it in such a way that we can chain it, which would make our update process a lot smoother and more fluent, and it'll just look a lot better. Okay, now in our post model, I've set up the methods in order to store or to set these attributes. It's a simple set and then whatever the attribute name is, expecting a string value of that attribute, and then setting the model attribute if it exists, and then it returns the model itself. Now this means that you can chain all these methods together, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so back in our controller, we can now take the post, which has been injected for us by Laravel, and now we can start chaining the methods. So we can say set title, and then we're going to pass it the request title. And then our next method, we can say set excerpt. And that would also come from the request. Okay, so now that we've chained all the methods and setting the attributes, I'm calling a special method commit, which is a method I created in our model, which just basically calls this.save and then it returns the model itself. Now, you can't call this.save on the chain because the save method returns a boolean and you want the post to be returned because we are returning the post inside the resource. I've also gone ahead and set up a special method for our image attribute, which is called setImage. So now we can go ahead and basically remove this image. We can also remove the update because we're calling the save method inside the commit. And we can also go ahead and remove the fields array. And now, as you can see, our update method is a lot smoother, it's a lot shorter, and it is a lot more fluent. That's it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll leave a link to the GitHub repo in the description below where you can see all the changes we made today. If you liked this video and you found it useful, please do me a favor and give it a like. Also, consider subscribing and hit that notifications icon. Then you'll be instantly notified when I upload more content like this. Until the next episode, guys. See you later.